Hello everybody, I am a little bit late to this, but I finally went ahead and finished the Quarry. Now this is the new sort of interactive horror movie, you could call it, by Supermassive Games, I believe. And this is their new big game. Like they have the shorter games, the Dark Pictures anthology games. This is separate from that. This is more like Until Dawn. So it's a full price release, and I will be evaluating it accordingly. It took me about 11 hours to finish, so a little bit longer than the 10 hours a lot of people were saying. But of course, if you know me at all, you know I'm a completionist. I'm reading all the shit. I'm gathering everything, all the information. Walking into every dark, dusty, dingy corner of the level to try and find secrets. And I should preface this by saying that I'm a big fan of these types of games. These sort of interactive horror movies. Or just interactive movies in general. I love David Cage games, even though those get kind of a bad rap a lot of the time. I love all of them. I have played all of the Dark Pictures anthology games. I really enjoyed Until Dawn. I love the Telltale games. I'm a big fan of this style of game. And so just keep that in mind, you know, as we are going forward. But let's start with the pros of the game. I'd say the first pro of the game is that the voice acting is very, very solid by every single character. I don't think any one really felt like they were phoning it in. One character, Ryan. Oh, and this is going to be spoiler free, of course. One character, Ryan, his voice is strange. No offense to the voice actor, but his voice is very unique, and it takes a little bit to get used to. And everybody that I've seen play the game kind of has said that exact same thing. But his voice acting is good. It's just, it takes a little bit to get used to. And I thought everybody delivered their lines well as they could with the writing in the game. But we'll get to that in the cons. But I think overall the actual delivery itself was quite good. The graphics, this is easily their best looking game so far that they've released. I'm sure it's still on the same engine as the Dark Pictures games. It plays very similarly, but the faces all look great. I still think that characters look a little weird when they smile. That's just something that I've noticed with all of their games, is that the smiling always looks a little funky to me. But other than that, I think the lighting, everything is excellent. I really enjoyed it. The actual story of the game as well, I think, is really good, but it's slow as hell to get into, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the cons. But the first 2 hours and 40 minutes of the game is entirely set up. After that point, though, after those 2 hours and 40 minutes, it is nonstop. I was engaged the entire time, and I really enjoyed all of it. So it does have a little bit of investment, you know, that you have to get into, and I can see a lot of people falling off in those first, you know, almost 3 hours of the game. It can definitely be shorter if you're not exploring everything, but of course, in a game like this, you want to explore everything to kind of piece together the story and understand everything and hopefully get the best ending. But once you get past like the 2 hours and 40 minutes, right around 3 hours, it is 7 to 8 hours of just highly enjoyable horror movie, sort of B-movie fun. And I really, really enjoyed it past that point. And the story itself is good. There's enough going on to where it keeps you on your toes. You never really feel safe, which I like. There's a lot of ways that people can die, and I really, really enjoy just trying to put together all of the pieces of the story and all of the clues that they give you and finding all of the evidence and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And once I found out one little piece, I'm like, okay, but I still don't understand all these other pieces. And it does come together in a way that's, I think is great. at least for my playthrough. Although I will say that I think some of it, you can miss a lot of the story in this game if you just fuck up and somebody dies. And I think that's kind of just, if you're gonna have characters be able to die, that's just one of the side effects that's going to happen. If you make that narrative decision that, okay, if you fuck up, this person's dead and they're dead permanently, you kind of have to accept the fact that, you know, sometimes people are just going to miss out on a lot of the story because of that. You know, a perfect example is in Detroit Become Human. At the very beginning of the game, you play as 3 different characters. And if you just decide to do nothing, if the player decides to do nothing, as I think her name is Kaya, whoever the chick is that you play, if you just decide to do nothing, you never play as her again. Ever. For the entire game. And you effectively just missed out on 33% of the game. Maybe even a little bit more. But you, by the player making a decision, they've missed out on a third of the game. And that's just something that is a side effect of that gameplay and narrative choice. And I'm a big fan of it because it does, at least for me, lend itself to replayability. You know, if a character dies, I'm like, shit, I kind of want to replay the game now and make different decisions, have that character live, and then see how the rest of the game plays out. Because while it may not seem like a big thing initially, then you start to realize, oh, wait, this character would have then been with these other characters and been able to contribute and help these characters, so some of those characters may have had a better outcome. And it really is sort of a snowball effect where stuff that you do at the beginning can have very large ramifications 8, 9 chapters later, which I really, really like. And I think the biggest problem with the Dark Picture Anthology games is that they are too easy. Every single Dark Pictures game that I've played, all 3 of them, everyone has lived. I've never had a character die. In this game, 2 of my characters died. And that is good. I like that. I like the fact that the game isn't easy, that you can't instantly predict the entire storyline, all the plot points. It's not super predictable, and you can't easily tell what the right decision is, because that lends itself to replayability, much like Until Dawn. And then the last positive that I'll say is that the soundtrack is a banger. Every single track is kind of a banger in the game. Cons. First con, already kind of touched on it. 2 hours and 49 minutes or so just to get into the fucking game. Like almost 3 hours just to get into what you want. That's a little rough. It's that, like, I talk about replayability and how I'd love to replay the game, but then I think about the fact that I have to play through those first 3 hours again, and that's a little rough, dude. Especially because you're not making a lot of decisions in those first, like, 2.5-ish hours. You're not making a lot of decisions. Not a lot is really happening that's terribly interesting past the prologue, and that's definitely going to inhibit some people. I see there's a chapter select, though. I don't really know how that would work, but maybe you just do that to skip past the first 3-ish hours of the game that are kind of a snooze fest. Second problem is the writing. I kind of touched on it earlier. It almost feels like a Marvel movie, and I did not like that. I didn't expect that, and I didn't like it. None of their other games have felt like this to me, but there will be very serious shit happening, world-ending shit, and then they'll kind of just, like, look into the camera and just be like, bazinga. You know, it'll just be like the stupidest fucking little one-liner snippet. And it really does feel like a Marvel movie. That's been my main complaint with a lot of Marvel content, is that they try and, like, they don't linger on these moments that they should linger on for longer, and instead they're right into the quips and the one-liners and the comedy. And I just felt that a lot of the writing was kind of cringy. And I understand it's supposed to be, you know, 80s inspired type of B movie, but I have seen almost all of the 80s horror movies, you know, all of those B movies. That's my jam. And they're not like that. I mean, there's unintentional humor, absolutely, but this almost feels like they're trying to do a cabin in the woods situation, but even cabin in the woods lingers on those moments that are serious. You know, they're not just joke, 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 joke. And this game has a lot of jokes, and a lot of them do not land. I would say the vast majority of jokes do not land in this game. Also, next con, the price. Now, this is like a $70 game. $70 for what's taking most people 10 hours. I don't know, man. It is steep. That is a steep price to ask for something like this. Especially when those first almost 3 hours are so fucking slow. That's gonna come down to per person. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of these games, but even as a huge fan of these games, I still don't think it's, like, after playing it, even though I definitely enjoyed my time, $70 is a lot of money, dude. That's a lot of money for a game that you'll probably play once. But of course, couch co-op and stuff like that exists, and that's how I would recommend all of you guys to play the game, is couch co-op. It's by far the best way to play all of their games. If you have the friends or family to do that, that is definitely the way to play it. But, so, you know, maybe you can do multiple playthroughs. Like I did my single player playthrough, and I'm doing a couch co-op playthrough with my family and friends. So, you know, I'll at least get 2 playthroughs out of it. But it's, that's going to come down to per person. I think it's a little bit spendy, personally. And I think the final con that I would say is, well, 2. One is kind of a minor one. And that's that for some reason they removed, when you walk up to something, right, and it says, like, press A to continue. In the last Dark Pictures Anthology game, they learned from their mistake and they learned from criticisms. And if it's going to progress the story, it has a little arrow, right? So instead of just saying press A to interact, it'll have a little arrow. And that's how you know, oh, okay, I should not interact with these sleeping bags because that will progress the story. Let me go and look at everything first. They took that out in this game, and I don't know why, because it's such a good quality of life option, and everybody was so happy that they added it to the last Dark Pictures game, because there's several times where I miss out on crucial information, including evidence, which is a big part of understanding the story, because I accidentally interact with the wrong thing first, and it progresses the story. In this game, quick saves faster than you can blink an eye, dude. The quick saves or auto saves or whatever are just instant to make it so you can't save scum at all. So you're just locked in. Oh, sorry, guess I missed that evidence and all of the lore and clues in an entire area because I accidentally interacted with the wrong thing first. So that is definitely frustrating, and I have no idea why they haven't added that. And I'm playing on the most recent patch, so it still has not been added as of yet. I suspect they maybe did it in a strange attempt to never, like, you're always on your toes. You never know if something's about to happen or you're about to progress the story or whatever. But in practice, it's just annoying. Just tell us what's going to progress the story so we can interact with everything else, right? And the final big gripe that I have with the game is I feel some characters are especially underutilized. And the 2 characters, no spoilers, but the 2 characters I'm talking about are Jacob and Emma. I felt that they were really, really kind of fumbled. I don't know. I didn't believe the relationship. I didn't believe how they interacted with one another. It just felt very off, very forced. I didn't like what they ended up doing with their characters. I didn't like how they would just disappear from the story for very long periods of time and then just kind of show up for 3 seconds and then disappear again. And They lived for me. It's not like, they got iced or anything. They lived for me. It's just they're very underutilized. It was strange because at the beginning of the game kind of builds that dynamic up and then it just disappears. And I felt a lot of the characters were underutilized. But of course, I didn't get the best ending since I did have 2 people die, so maybe there's some crazy extra content or something like that if everybody lives. I don't know, but I kind of doubt it with the way that it played out. I kind of doubt that's the situation. But overall, I really enjoyed my time with the game. Like I said, I'm going to be finishing another playthrough in couch co-op off stream. I love these types of games, and I think that the story that they're actually telling and the plot twists and stuff were done extremely well. I enjoyed this game more than Man of Medan, more than House of Ashes, more than Little Hope, even. But I do still think Until Dawn has much better pacing, and that's just because Until Dawn has that whole, killer arc at the beginning that really keeps you invested right out the get-go, very quickly. So I still think Until Dawn is the better experience. It's better paced and has better reveals, but I think this is definitely second in their catalog, and I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. For those of you who don't know my rating scale, I think a 5 is an average game, 6 is above average, and 7 is a good game. I think it's a good game. I do think that you should wait for a sale for it, though. $70 is just way too much for an experience like this. These games go on sale very quickly, or you can usually find them if you're on console. You can find physical discs like on eBay or whatever used really quickly afterwards because people just beat them and then they start reselling them. So I'd say it's a solid 7 out of 10 game, enjoyable enough. $70 is way too much asking price, though. I would say, a good 30 or 40, and you're in for a good time. You could probably get like 2 playthroughs because I really doubt the average person is going to have everybody live their first playthrough. Some of those decisions are very hard, and you can kind of just fuck up early and basically cement yourself in. I didn't even talk about the fact that they do give you 3 lives now that you can utilize if you want to, but I don't really think that's too big of a game changer. If you don't like it, just don't use it. I've seen mixed feedback from the fans and the community. If you don't like it, don't use it. I used it, still had 2 people die, so it's not like it's gonna save you too much, man. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. See all of you in the next video. We're Bye bye.